You know the names, you've seen the plays, but what about the stories behind the game? Welcome to Honorable Mentions with Tanner Morgan and Quinn Carroll, two teammates turned storytellers, breaking down life, film, and everything in between. From locker room laughs to real-world lessons, nothing's off the record here. This is Honorable Mentions.
Morgan to throw, has time, lost one near side for Tyler Johnson. He has the catch at the 10, down the sideline, touchdown! What a play! He's got all the double, the one at the 10, turns it up 5, touchdown! Minnesota Golden Gophers!
Hey, welcome back to the Honorable Mentions podcast. I'm Quinn Carroll with Tanner Morgan. We're excited for another episode to bring to you guys. We got an awesome guest. This guy is not necessarily an honorable mention. He's a first-teamer, All-American, NFL vet, stud. We're excited to interview him. But first, we got a few things to cover in the landscape of college football. Tanner, let's hit on the Indiana-Oregon game.
Yeah, wow. Right? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the dominance that Indiana had. I mean, Oregon, dude, it was silly mistakes, right? That cost them. You know, the Dante Moore first play pick six, like, you know, their corner jumped it on a little out breaking route to the boundary. That was a good play. I think, you know, the fumble, when they fumbled in their own zone on like the 3, he's going to throw a bubble. He pops to the back, goes to pop back, and he hits the back. I mean, that shows part of Oregon's issue of, you know, their running back room was depleted, right? And that obviously hurt them. But I think about the calendar of college football again. Will Stein and Tosh Lapoy, both head coaches now at their respective schools, Cal and Kentucky. I just don't, it's just hard, man. I mean, it's hard to do it. You know, obviously those guys wanted to finish it out the right way. And I'm not questioning their commitment at all. I just don't like that calendar at all. I think I've been vocal about that on all of our last 2 pods, but Indiana dominant. I mean, we're sitting here watching Indiana on a historic run the past 2 years, and this year what they've done. I don't think we've talked about Fernando Mendoza and how special he's been all season enough, probably, with what he's been able to accomplish this year. And then just the total dominance that they've had. Kurt Cignetti, I mean, man, like what? If you told me 4 years ago that Indiana was going to be the national championship game, I would have laughed.
I think everyone would have.
Probably. I mean, 2020, they had a great year with Michael Penix. Tom Allen, great coach when he led the charge there at Indiana. But, like, you wouldn't have necessarily put him in the national title contender race, but it shows what they've been able to do, how they've been able to, in this rev share NIL era, kind of be able to take care of that. Mark Cuban stepped up and other guys in general and gals. But, I mean, that was one word, dominant, from the Indiana Hoosiers. And I'll highlight lastly, from their coaching perspective, from Kurt Cignetti, loyalty. The offensive and defense coordinator for Indiana Hoosiers have been with Kurt Cignetti since his IUPUI days. Wow. From to Elon to JMU, now to Indiana, and now they're both making over $1.5 million a year going into 26.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about guys who have been developed, and not only Kurt Cignetti coaching the players, but coaching the coaches as well. So it's exciting, and I cannot wait to see Indiana play in the national title. What about you? How about that block from Pat Coogan on the little pin and pull down there in the red zone?
That was awesome. That fired me up. I mean, it just starts with the O-line, right? Like, they set the tone for the game, and they weren't afraid of Oregon. They learned from their game in the regular season. Like, there were a couple pressures here and there that rushed Fernando in that regular season game, but, you know, they came out swinging, and it was so much fun to watch. You know, I think with Oregon, you know, their offense, the explosion that they have on offense, explosiveness, the fact that Indiana's defense can hold them, you know, throughout the whole game and allow Indiana's offense to stay on the field and rack up points is just so crucial. And people talk about it's their process and the way Cignetti recruits guys. But at the end of the day, if you're bringing in transfers from FCS or guys who weren't playing much elsewhere, at the end of the day, a 5-star from Oregon should hypothetically be able to beat, a corner who transferred in from FCS or that wide receiver might be faster than that corner. On paper, you would think that, but it's just all about their process. And Cignetti talks about finding guys who have produced, like production over potential, which is, I think definitely something that a lot of teams will inherit over the next few years. They'll try and do that too. But I think Cignetti just has that secret potion, to find the right guys, to create the right culture, to have the right coordinators in line to teach and to, demand that process out of their players. What'd you think of Mendoza's little secret sauce that he was spraying on his hands? Did you see that? The liquid chalk?
I did. I did. I mean, that's a guy who, people are like, oh, is that cheating? Well, no, first of all, no, it's not. Secondly, any advantage you can get, take it. If you like specifically how your hands have to feel when you grip a ball, do it. I think that's one thing when you're playing in cold weather, especially if you don't have big mitts, like big hands. When your hands get cold and your hands are dry, that's a nightmare. Like, so you have to have your hands like continually obviously staying warm, but also like if your hands are dry in general, cold weather does that. It's a challenge to do that. I remember Zach Anixted told me he played at IMG, and we played in the Florida Bowl game, an Outback Bowl now the ReliQuest Bowl. And he goes, dude, it's just like the humidity in the air in Florida, how you can grip the ball is a lot different than in Minnesota. And he was right. And I think all those things factor into Mendoza. Guys very calculated. When you take an advantage like that, take it, right? Like, he's not cheating. He's not over there, scheming the system. And
Was that
I
something that
bet
you
that
did?
other people are going to look into it. I didn't use that. For me, it was I just had kind of like a routine during the week to keep my hands in a good shape, right? And make sure that they didn't get too dry. And then secondly, in the game, just constantly switching out hand warmers. So I had a bunch of different hand warmers that I went through in a big pouch because I'd rather my hands stay warm throughout the drive. That's like the worst thing that can happen is your hands get cold. I mean,
Did you
it
have a
sounds
game
silly, right? It was a warm
or
game,
games?
but
Did you have any games in your career where you struggled with gripping the ball, or maybe your hands were too
honestly, not
humid?
not necessarily. Not necessarily, and I don't have massive hands, but my hands are bigger than I am taller, so that wasn't an issue for me. I did have an issue though, however. We played in Iowa in 2020, I believe. And on third down, Iowa played a lot of two-man. Against two-man, quarterback run is deadly. It's one of the things that if they don't have a spy there to contain it, that is open a lot. So and I wasn't very fast. So they were going to play two-man, not leave a spy on me, and count the rush to take me before I got off and was able to get a first down. And those two-man, like 3rd and 8, I scrambled to the left and a hand warmer fell out of my pocket and I stepped on the hand warmer and tripped and like tumbled until I got tackled. It looked awful. They're like, bro, you're like, what is this going on? And I'm like, my hand warmer like fell out of. So that was an interesting thing.
Man.
And it's not excuses, man. I just, sometimes they get you, man.
We got to go back and find that film. I bet it looked awesome.
Find the clip. Yeah, left hash scrambling out to the left. Not good. We got bodied that game. That was the game where Ferentz took his timeouts. Nope, not that. That was the year before. He took all 3 timeouts. I think we lost 42-7. He took 3 timeouts before we scored. He said
that's crazy.
He had a quote of left Minneapolis with the pig and no timeouts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Tough day in the office, but it's all right.
There's a hatred that runs in that.
I was a great football team, bro, and a great football program. You literally cannot deny that. And then we see what they did against Vanderbilt, and Can we talk about what Iowa social media did to our boy Cade McConnell? That
was criminal.
Honorable mention guest. What they did to him on social was, Cade, bro. All right, like we're here, we're behind you, but that was tough.
Cade, we love you, but if you're gonna say that publicly, you got to bring it. You know what I mean? So, moving on a little bit to the playoffs, we got Miami against Indiana. Who do you think will win, and why?
I'm not betting against the Hoosiers ever. Yeah, I'm not going against Indiana, right? Like I'll take Indiana through and through. I think it's going to be a closer game than we had in the semifinal against Oregon, but I think the
Yeah, I do too.
dominance that Indiana's been able to do, I mean, the physicality of their defense. I mean, I think Carson Beck, what a story, right? People
Mhm.
kind of wrote him off last year at Georgia that he was too much of the off the field kind of guy, and now he's playing in the national championship at Miami. And we could talk about all the
Yeah,
off the field things, but he's produced. He has
I wouldn't
produced.
have
He
bet
didn't
that
play.
preseason.
Yeah, I mean, even in the first round when they played A&M, right? And this is the 10 seed that barely got in. We had the debate of should Notre Dame got in or Miami. Well, Miami's in the national championship now.
Yeah,
He didn't play great against A&M, very windy day, but he's produced and made things happen. He had the game-winning, touchdown run off the scramble that against Ole Miss, and now we're going to see Carson Beck versus Fernando Mendoza in the Natty. I think Miami is going to keep it close, right? It's basically a home game for them, right? They're playing at Hard Rock Stadium.
Mhm.
Fernando Mendoza grew up less than a mile away from Hard Rock Stadium. His dad played high school football with Mario Cristobal. And here we are. We got the national championship in Miami. Miami's in it, kind of like Tampa when Tampa Bay was in the Super Bowl in 2020 and they played in their home stadium. All right, that's
Yeah.
somewhat of an advantage. I'm interested to see what the fan situation is because Indiana and Atlanta in the Peach Bowl,
They
Dante
travel.
Moore was quoted in his post-game press conference, and he said, I thought it was red seats at first. It turned out it was Indiana fans. So I got to
Indiana
believe
fans
that Indiana's going
travel,
to try to
man.
show up in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, don't you?
100%.
Like,
I mean,
if you're okay, this would be embarrassing if you're Miami and you have if there's more Indiana fans in the stadium than Miami fans, that should be embarrassing because Miami does not need to travel. But it will show
Yeah.
you about the Hoosier faithful and how excited they are for this moment. But I will be looking for that. What's the stadium setup going to be? I think it's electric. And it's kind of like, we talked about in I think episode 2, Quinn, about how the playoffs should be home games up and, should be at college stadiums up until the Natty. Well, here we are in the Natty and it basically is a home game for Miami because it's played. Yeah, right. It wasn't set out to be that way, but it is. And so hopefully next year we can get that or the year after where we have the college atmosphere game. So what do you think, Miami, Indiana? What's your prediction for the game? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, just quickly touching on Indiana fans traveling. I was at the Rose Bowl. That place was like 75-25 Hoosier fans versus Alabama fans. It was crazy. And it might have been, they have a greater network in LA or, this is the first time Indiana's been in the Rose Bowl or whatever. So people are traveling more often. It's more exciting for Hoosier fans than it is for Bama fans. But, oh my gosh, like fourth quarter, Indiana clearly has won the game. Every Alabama fan left and the stadium was still 75% full. It was crazy. And for the trophy ceremony, Pat Coogan being named MVP, everyone was there to watch it. So that was super cool. And then we saw it again with the Peach Bowl. I think because of how well Indiana fans travel, it'll be pretty evenly split. With this, it's not a home game technically for Miami where they can like figure out how many seats they're going to sell to Indiana fans or the parent section or whatever. This is all, it's evenly split. So I think it'll be, about 50-50 with it being, Miami fans right there. They can go to the game, but Indiana fans will certainly travel. I might go. We never know.
Right.
But I think Miami will keep it closer than any other team in the playoffs so far for Indiana. But I mean, with how they're hitting their stride right now, they're peaking at the right time. Their run game, Mark Fletcher Jr., their running back, he's playing phenomenal. Carson Beck doing well also. Indiana's going to win. I'm not saying anything aside from that, but I think Miami keeps it close. And I think it comes down to their run game mixing things up a little bit, because if Indiana figures that out and, starts to stack 8 in the box or whatever, they'll shut that down no problem, similar to how they did to Oregon. But how do you think Miami could keep it close?
I mean, to me, it's chaotic pressures from Corey Heatherman. We know he loves simulated
Yeah.
blitzes. He loves zone pressures. That's something that you have to do to get Indiana off their game. When you look at Indiana, Fernando Mendoza is not making many mistakes, right? They put the ball on the ground against Oregon. He fumbled, and I believe it was Pat Coogan, Mr. Hustle, was right there to get
Yes.
on the ball in a 2-minute drive. They haven't lost a fumble since week 1, and it was on a season-ending injury for a back. I'm forgetting his name. Sorry. And so I think if you force an early turnover, you get a chance, right? It's the 78% rule from Coach Fleck. But I think that Corey Heatherman battle of simulated pressures, and then Miami, like, you have to establish run. They've done a great job. Their offense coordinator has an air raid background, but what they've been able to do to blend kind of air raid principles with kind of pro style run game stuff from under center in the gun has been phenomenal. And I think you have to win the battle up front if you're Miami, if you want a chance in this game. And then defensively, I think it's going to be those exotic pressures to get Mendoza off their game, because if you play man-to-man, I don't really love the chances, which is crazy because Indiana's talent, isn't necessarily on paper what Miami's is, but guess what? It wasn't against Oregon either. But when you have a guy like Elijah Surratt, all they've done on third down is just throw him a back shoulder ball. And that back shoulder ball, it's almost impossible to defend if you have a guy that's locked in and a quarterback and receiver duo who are, lock in step with that. And Mendoza and Surratt are on that page. So I think more zone pressures give you a better chance from a Miami perspective. But we'll see, man. I'm excited to see kind of what happens with the guys and what we get in those first kind of opening plays from both teams and how it starts.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I wonder if the boys up front for Indiana are sweating a little bit, because this is probably the most chaotic defensive coordinator that they've faced all season. And Corey Heatherman, we know him well, and he did a great job for Minnesota. He's here for one short year, but I mean, geez, he'll be a head coach here soon. And that defense will.
He was a defense before he was at Rutgers. He was the defensive coordinator at James Madison. I believe that's when they were still FCS, maybe. So I don't. Was it under Signetti?
I'm pretty sure.
That's a good. We should Google.
I think he was at Rutgers for
our listeners.
Yeah. Maybe we can look that up.
Yeah, but anyway,
but either way,
James Madison University, 3 out of the 4 coordinators were coordinators at JMU at some point. So shout out the Dukes. Their colorway is phenomenal, by the way. It's sweet. Billy Napier, new head coach at James Madison. Don't think they're going anywhere, folks, in the G5.
No doubt. I know they're not in the FCS anymore, but
which leads us to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I know JMU's not in the FCS anymore, but did you happen to see the FCS national title?
I did. I didn't go watch the whole thing, but I think one of my honor rolls, we've had one of my honor rolls was the FCS playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And when you have a game like that, sucks for Illinois State. They've been in 2 natties and they've lost combined by 3 points, I believe. That's tough. That's a hard pill to swallow. For our Redbirds, Zach Anixted, Noah Hickox, and Brock Anixted. JJ G'day. Yep. Don't forget JJ G'day. Wanted to see it for the boys, but it didn't come through. I think Montana State, Montana, it's the purity of college football that's still there. When you watch them coming down the escalator at the Bozeman Airport, which is a phenomenal airport. Is it Bozeman or Billings?
I think it's Bozeman.
Yeah, sorry, of that airport. I get those mixed up all the time. It was sweet, right? They've got the trophy, they're going down, everybody's going nuts, but that rivalry is really special, Montana, Montana State. Um, so much so, like, if I was when I was in coaching, everybody has these, like, your dreams and aspirations. Montana State or Montana were on my, like, would love to be the head coach at this school.
Yeah.
And I think it's what they're able to do is sweet. Shout out Lewis Kidd, um, you know, alma mater, won the Natty. But I think the FCS playoffs has been pretty special so far of what we've been able to see in that model, and how can we get that into the CFP while it makes sense. One of the smart things they did was moving the game to Nashville from Fort
Hmm.
Worth. I think it was phenomenal to see it in Nashville. Obviously, that's a place a lot of people want to travel to, but
I think it
I'm a
was in
huge
Vandy
FCS fan.
Stadium.
Obviously, it was, yeah, and obviously where we live, FCS football is a big deal with the Dakota schools, right? The Dakota
Right.
schools are recruiting Minnesota like crazy, um, and so I think it was cool to see, obviously, Montana go out and do it. But what a game, what a team, and
Dude,
Montana State, but sucked for the Redbirds.
at the end there, I feel for that kicker, dude. I mean, I think it was his second start all year. He got the start in the semifinal game because their kicker got hurt in the quarterfinal, something like that. Um, and he goes out and misses an extra point, and then misses a field goal to not win,
Yeah,
and then pushes it to overtime, and then misses the extra point to allow Montana State to win on just the extra point after that touchdown. But it was 4th and 10 on
right.
Illinois State's like 20, 25. And they hit that, out route in the back of the end zone. It was so fun.
Hmm.
So electric. You saw the Montana State fans going crazy. They were both on silent count
Yeah,
because both teams traveled so well to Nashville, which was cool to see. But I mean, Illinois State had every opportunity to win that game. They just came up a little bit short, and Montana State took it from them. But excited for both those teams and where they're going in the future.
agree. I totally agree. Talk us a little bit about Quinn. We're getting into the off season now. We still got the national championship, but we've got players returning, coaching changes still happening, but for the most part, those are set. You got guys coming back, having their first team meeting, getting into off season training.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit in general, what these guys are going through, what it's like. Obviously, it's different every place you're at, different in different schools, but the off-season training kind of perspective in the world of college football still changing is still unique to college football, and it's not like in the NFL where guys are gone for a couple months, right? Because we have this thing called school that they have to
Yeah.
attend. So tell us a little bit about about off-season training, and let's go down that route.
Yeah. I mean, after the bowl game, you need to take that time to just rest your body, rest your mind. It's a long season. And the off season is tough, especially if you have a strength coach like we did, Dan Nickel at University of Minnesota. You know, those workouts aren't easy, right? School's not easy. Nothing you do in college football is easy. So, preparing yourself, kick your feet up a little bit during that time so that when you come back, you're ready to roll. And I know they'll have the boys ready, but, um, showing up, there's going to be a lot of new faces. There'll be new coaches. Um, and, you know, hopefully a bunch of guys that can come in and adapt to the culture, but the leaders on that team, everywhere in the country, they're going to have to really hold strong and develop the guys who are transferring in, even freshmen who are early enrolling, who are looking to make an immediate impact. So leadership is
Mhm.
key in the off season, building that relationship. We see a lot of quarterbacks transferring. They're going to have to step in and lead the team right away. They're brought in to start to be the number one quarterback, and that's the ultimate leader of the team. So, through those off-season workouts, the conditioning, the strength workouts, the mat drills leading up to spring ball,
Mhm.
that grind is what meshes a team together. And I think we see
Right.
that with O-line quarterbacks. Tanner, you did a great job of leading the offense. There's got to be a lot of player run things. Max did a great job of that as well. we would work out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesdays we had yoga and some recovery stuff, but Wednesdays we were there at 6 in the morning getting a walkthrough in just so everybody's on the same page with the offense. So by the time we got to spring ball, everyone was firing on all cylinders. So,
which is critical, and you hit on it in the world of QB transfers, right? And new coordinators in different places. If you're going to install a new offense, like, you got to figure it out, and you want that thing to be going pretty well. So the rules have changed too, where now you can have indie practices with coaches, whereas, the first 4 years of my career, 5 years, that was prohibited. That was extremely illegal by the NCAA. Now you can have that a little bit, and then it ramps up in the summer too. And that helps the overall, what you're going to see. So I think that's awesome. So we can have these coaches coaching a little bit and installing plays on the grass without the wear and tear, on the player bodies. But that stuff, like you said, transfers coming in, you got to mesh guys together. People have to learn how to play together. I think of A&M when the NIL stuff first happened. They were rumored to have like the biggest roster ever, and Jimbo Fisher, they failed. They won, I don't know how many games it was, but he got fired. Right. And so you can't just have guys who are talented. If they don't play together, it's not going to work. And the off season, January, through whenever you start spring ball, is a huge, massive part of that. I think about the off season in phases. Phase 1, you have that off season training, and that's really kind of the molding. And you're also molding yourself physically because you have more time to really focus on your body. Obviously, you're continuing to do that in phase 2 and really in phase 3 in the summer. But phase 2 would be spring ball, phase 3 summer training, and then I think phase 4 of my off season. This is my phases of off season. Phase 4 is you get into training camp, and then the season starts. But the season really starts in training camp. But those are the things you have to master, those 4 quarters leading up into the season. And phase 1, you got to start fast. That off season training. That's why strength coaches are some of really they're a lot of new coaches' first hire. They want to bring the strength coach in because players are going to spend more time with strength coaches than they are with their position coaches for the most part. And so that hire is critical. That team that they develop is critical because they're implementing, what the team is going to be about, but also how you can use, and science and data has changed so much, how you can use new techniques to make your athletes even better, even bigger, even faster, even stronger. But man, that off season part, back in the day, it used to be even more gruesome. I think, you hear stories of people who played, you know, 15, 20 years ago before that, they're a grind though. They're meant to be that way, much different than the NFL. And, I think when I look back now on my collegiate career, those are some of my favorite memories of just being with the guys and what you had. You're very locked in, but you get to spend a lot of time together. And, you got to make sure your body's in tip top shape to go out there and compete in the weight room and sprints and running and stuff of that nature. But it's an underrated part that the average fan doesn't really maybe get a glimpse behind the scenes. We see the sweet videos that, athletic departments post and football social media people put on X, but it's vital for your offseason development. And even though the college football's changed, it's still really important for the things that you talked about.
Yeah, and shout out to teams like Indiana. They bring in, their 2 leaders on the offense are Pat Coogan and Fernando Mendoza. Those 2 guys have been there for a year, right? They spent 4 or 5 years elsewhere with a different culture, different process. And shout out the coaching staff and the recruiting staff at Indiana to bring in guys who will mesh with their culture, right? From day one, they were leaders. And they're leading guys who have already been there for many years. So I think that's so crucial in finding guys, with the transfer portal closing, I think today or, the next couple days here, it's so crucial for these teams to find guys who will step in and lead right away. And I think my favorite offseason story was when I transferred to Minnesota. You were there. A handful of other guys were there. John Michael Schmitz, Brevin Spanford. You guys all brought me in and treated me like I had been there my whole career. And, I can't thank you guys enough for that, but that was so much fun for me. I didn't know how I was going to shake out. I was hoping for the best, and I was going to work my butt off every day to earn a role and earn some leadership and some credibility on that team. But when I walked in those doors, we were best of friends, right? And those off-season workouts are a grind, but like you said, the aftermath of that, getting to hang out, go grab dinner, go, golf, whatever. Those are some of my favorite off-season memories. But talk about the O-line quarterback relationship. That's a big thing with us and the Honorable Mentions podcast, and just how crucial that is with the transfer portal, with off-season training. How did you build that? What were some things that you did in the offseason to build your relationship with your O-line, especially if there was some turnover or some young guys stepping up or even transfers coming in? What were some things that you did to really strengthen that group and make sure they're doing everything in their power to keep you clean?
Yeah, I think you look at it in a couple different ways. The first part is in the building, from a strength perspective. How are you spending a lot of time with each other? The second thing is how are you getting on the same page mentally? So you talk about those walkthroughs, all that different stuff. And the third thing is out of the building. I think that's where you really develop that trust piece. And I think there's a gift from a lot of the best quarterbacks is, I would say it's likability, maybe, where they're likable people. People like to be around them. Doesn't mean that
Mm-hmm.
they can't command a room and that they still have that ownership and leadership, but people generally like those kind of guys. They think of a Max Brosmer who steps in and people just love his personality and kind of the person that he is. I think that's really important because you get around, it's spending time with each other, whether it's you go ice fishing. I remember that's something we did. You go play whatever it is unique to where you're at. And now guys have more money to do different things. Cade McConnell's on a jet to go to the UFC in Las Vegas with Diego Pavia. Those kind of things that you saw in the NFL for a long time now are coming to college football. But how can you create unique opportunities for guys to bond and be together? And if you do it organically, I think that happens pretty well. I think Max Brosman did a great job when he got to the U of all those things that they really took advantage of. So that to me is the big win piece. Obviously in the building you have to do it, and that comes with the position of, in the weight room on the on the turf with the running, but then also B of mentally from our offense. How are we talking through things? How are we sitting down talking through protections? Are we watching tape together? Especially if you bring in a
Yeah.
guy like a new center. Hey, let's talk about, oh, what would you see there? What would you do? Well, I would do this because the safety. You don't need to know that, but I'm going to lead it because here's why. I'm going to make this
Mhm.
call because here's why. I'm going to make a flipper call because, in that way you can kind of understand how each other think. And that's really important.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you did a great job of that too. Coming in, myself as an offensive lineman, I had to learn the playbook. Coach Callahan did a great job of preparing me for that. I don't know if many people know this, but like when I transferred in January from Notre Dame, I entered my name in the portal, committed to Minnesota, and then I had a whole semester left in South Bend, Indiana to wrap up my degree. So I didn't show up until May. But Coach Callahan did a great job of teaching me the playbook throughout those handful of months via Zoom, to get me right. But
Love it.
when I stepped in the doors, you had a great process of watching film with the O-line, watching film with the receivers and running backs, because those are, completely different aspects of the game, aspects of our offense. And, as long as we were on the same page, we couldn't be wrong. So I think you did a great job with that. Now that the portal is wrapping up, who is your favorite quarterback transfer? You don't hear much about the O-lineman unless they're an All-American transferring, but you don't hear much about them. But a lot of these guys are going to show up and be role players and phenomenal players for their team, looking for a better opportunity on the field. Hopefully not chasing the money too much, but hear a lot about the quarterbacks. There's a lot of QBs transferring this year. Talk about your favorite one.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys who are in the portal. I'm gonna dance around a little bit because I don't have a favorite one. I'm gonna start with saying I love the fact that Washington and the Big Ten prohibited Damon Williams from transferring to LSU after he had signed his contract for 2026. Rumored to be at $4 million. LSU probably offered more. Allegedly was going to leave to go to LSU, but the Big Ten said, no, we can't have guys signing contracts and getting out of them. We just can't do that. And so they enforced it. His agent decided he took some bad advice. His agent decided to, withhold representing him. So he's got new representation now. He's going back to Washington. That's probably going to be a little bit of a sticky situation at first, but they'll figure it out. He's a good talent. So I love that. That's going to be my honor roll later too. I'm going to briefly talk about one of my two, right? Always got to have two. Um,
Foreshadow.
and and so I love the fact of that. And that kind of had a lot of different effects on what happened to other schools. I think there's still some names out there. What does Ole Miss do? They've got Deuce Knight from Auburn coming in. I think that's a good guy, but they're probably going to look to add another one, right? Dylan Raiola left Nebraska to go to Oregon. That's an interesting situation. I think it's still going to be successful. And Nebraska got a gritty guy in from UNLV that Will Compton's a huge fan of. I think he's a good player. But one of the guys I really like is one of the two from LSU. LSU allegedly, Sam Levitt committed to LSU, but the second guy, they got another one from Elon, Landon Clark. And this kid can spin it. And so people probably aren't talking about him a lot. He's undersized, but could this be the Trinidad Chambliss of 2026? Maybe. I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Sam Levitt's a great player and he's going to have a lot of success at LSU, but that's an interesting situation for me because we've seen from this year with Ole Miss how important it is to have two guys. Austin Simmons was a guy that they developed, had a phenomenal year. He now goes to Missouri. I think he's going to do big things at Missouri as well. Phenomenally talented, really smart, high processor, but just the injury bug, right? He gets hurt. He misses 2 games. Trinidad Chambliss comes in, does his thing, and now he runs the show. Is that a situation that LSU might be in? I don't know, but Lane Kiffin, he's sitting there like, I know I need to have at least 2 guys. Landon Clark might be their depth guy, but if he gets a chance, I think he can do something special. I think Sam Levitt's going to have a great run there for the Tigers, but that's something that's just interesting to me that they're taking 2 and kind of how that all worked out, especially how it worked for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss this year. What I'm really interested to see is Trinidad Chambliss is, his 6th-year waiver got denied, but Ole Miss is allegedly still trying to make a claim there. What are they going? Are they going to get another guy? What's their plan? That's interesting to me because they lose who their day one starter was, Austin Simmons, to the portal to Missouri. Maybe they get him to come back. Maybe I don't know if he's officially signed at Missouri yet, but that whole situation's got to be interesting for Pete Golding and what they're doing right now. But I think those names I listed are all guys who are going to go and compete and have good years. But there's going to be some big time quarterbacks at new schools, and we'll see how it works out in 26 and who comes on top because nobody really saw the Ferris State quarterback Trinidad Chambliss doing what he did this year. And he had a phenomenal season. He's probably going to be a solid draft, first probably 1 through 3 round draft pick, maybe 4th round
for sure.
And so that's something that, when he transferred to May, people didn't see happening, but here we are. So who knows who's going to be the next Trinidad? That's what I'm trying to look out for. Who's a guy who could do that?
And week 6, he didn't play until like week 6, so leading up to this season, it all happened so fast for Trinidad. And what a roller coaster of emotions for him. I mean, he gets named the starter, plays well. The guy who started the season is now healthy and they keep Trinidad in. He's taken the team to the semifinals, kind of a tight game against Miami. And then they lose. And then he finds out that he's, denied that 6th year of eligibility. So to lose that game and to say, oh, this year's over, and then not get granted another year and say, oh my gosh, my college career is over. I just feel for him. And it's kind of similar to the guys at Notre Dame, right? Like you think you have one more game and then that bowl game is, their bid is denied. So those guys just, their career's over, their college career is over, and hopefully they make it in the NFL. But if they do not, a lot of those seniors are done playing football. And we know how that feels, and that's a tough place to be in.
Right.
The Hula Bowl was this past weekend, or I'm sorry, it's coming up. The CGS was this past weekend, College Gridiron Showcase. The Shrine Bowl's coming up. The Senior Bowl's coming up for all those seniors who are graduating and going into the NFL draft. Talk about your All-Star game experience. I believe you played in 2. Played in the Hula Bowl and the Shrine Bowl. Is that correct?
Played in the Hula Bowl for Brian Billick. And these are great opportunities. So this is kind of, Hula Bowl. I get a late invite. played well, did a good job in practice, got to make some relationships with guys with the Steelers, and then talked to them. I played well in the Hula Bowl, and I got an invite to the East-West game. So I went to the East-West. That was led by an NFL team, so I played for the Falcons. It was Arthur Smith who was coaching us. And that was a great experience. Kind of, you had to really be locked in, because you're with NFL guys the whole time. They're scouts. I mean, it's a hectic experience because you're playing and then you're with scouts and you got to make sure you're still studying the new thing. And so the new system, but those all-star games are critical because you're getting out in front of scouts and they're seeing you play, especially, for guys who maybe aren't the top draft picks, but even the Senior Bowl, right? It's so vital. Teams fall in love with guys at the Senior Bowl, and that's how they end up drafting them, or they find somebody that they didn't know about. I think of Danny Strigo. He got a late Senior Bowl invite, slept on the plane, red eye, darted to Mobile, and goes in and plays. The Jaguars like him. They end up taking him, and now he's on the 53 with the Jaguars. So I think these All-Star game experiences are critical. For me, it was a little hectic from, I got a late invite to the East-West, so you fly out there last minute and you got to be locked in. But it was awesome. Those are experiences that I loved, and something I definitely enjoy, and have relationships from those games with coaches and players that you still keep up with. And it was pretty unique and pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's a grind, right? Like, I went to the Hula Bowl.
Yeah, it's
Danny.
almost like a miniature training camp, right? Like, would you agree with that based on your experience?
For sure, but to me, it was a little more stressful than that. I went to the Hula Bowl with Danny Strigo and Dragan Kesic, and I mean, it was, you're up at 6, you're in meetings, you're practicing, then you're meeting with scouts the whole rest of the day. You're up late trying to fit in, as many teams as you can while you're there. It's stressful, man. All while trying to take care of your body.
Oh, I met.
Yeah. Totally. So, keeping up with your agent, trying to say, hey, have you heard from this team? I just sat down with them. They seem interested, blah, blah, blah. So, all while trying to play your best football that week. I had a lot of fun at the Hula Bowl. It's a grind for sure. But it's such a blessing to be able to have those experiences and to be invited to those things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching these All-Star games coming up and seeing who rises to the occasion, because you see guys every year. Like, there's a defensive end from Marshall last year. I'm blanking on his name, but he was a All-American at Marshall, but then he steps in and absolutely cooks every offensive tackle except for Ariante Ursary, I will add.
Shout out.
He's cooking offensive tackles left and right. And you wouldn't necessarily assume that a Marshall D end would run through the face of an Oregon All-American left tackle, but he did. And guys like Danny Strigo, who gets a late invite to the Senior Bowl and shows up and has 2 sacks, he's a grinder. And just so excited for those guys and to see who's gonna rise to the occasion.
Yeah, it's a exciting part of the football calendar when you're looking at like the draft hype and buzz. I love it. It's fun.
Yeah,
because we're in a whole different season of like, okay, from college guys going to the NFL, that's the main coverage. But then also now we got portal, who's gonna emerge, what teams are gonna end up coming out on top, who's gonna be the next Ole Miss. But I love kind of that draft season stuff, and we'll get into that as those things develop. But yeah, man, I'm excited. We'll see what happens. We've got, Ethan Kaliak-Manis played in the Hula Bowl for John Gruden. Hopefully
cool.
Barstool got some sweet behind the scenes footage. I'm sure they did, but that's something that I'm going to be checking out for. Did Barstool Gruden get some behind the scenes footage of him coaching at the Hula Bowl? It seemed like he had a mic on, so I'm sure he did, but we'll see. Hey, don't go anywhere. We've got a great interview with Gopher legend, NFL great Maxx Williams coming up. We're going to talk about his NFL career, post-career, kind of what it was like to live up to the expectations of his father winning a Super Bowl, Minnesota native, and we're fired up to have him on the pod, the one and only Maxx Williams. Look at that timing, Quinn. Oh, my God.
There he is.
That was perfect timing.
Let's go.
That was
Thanks for the
literally
heads up. I need
perfect.
this app. You kidding me? I click an ad, join. All of a sudden, it's like download app. I was like, oh, I'm not coming yet. Then what's up?
That's perfect.
What's up, dude?
Max, thanks for
coming
joining
on,
us,
man.
brother.
It took you long enough to ask you to. What the hell?
Hey, we're only 4 episodes deep, brother.
Yeah, bro. We're just
You
trying to
just
figure
hear-
this.
You
Just trying to
hear
figure
some
this thing out.
screaming in the background. It's just my kids killing each other downstairs.
Hey,
Dude, I've cleaned up turds off the ground today 3 times. My toddler
No.
has diarrhea.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're potty training still, and she's like got a little bit of like, it's the worst, dude. You know, I'm looking around, I'm like, there's a fat pile of. It's like I'm cleaning up after a dog, but it's my daughter.
It's literally potty training's like having a puppy. Just
Yeah,
pee and
dude.
poop on the ground out of nowhere. It's like, where did this come from? But once you
Oh,
get
man.
past that and they're fully potty trained, it's glorious.
I can't
Until you
wait.
start having more kids. I mean, I got 3 boys under the age of 4, so
That's a grind. All right, we want to give a warm, honorable mention to our guest, the one and only Maxx Williams, Minnesota legend, NFL great, Minnesota native through and through, born and raised here. Max, welcome to the Honorable Mentions podcast. We're excited to have you on. Thanks for coming on, man.
appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, shout out to Quinn Carroll for getting Max on the pod. If you guys don't know,
Waconia
Maxx
boy.
Williams is from Waconia, Minnesota. You know what, Max? I live somewhat close to Waconia. Waconia is growing pretty crazy. What's the difference in Waconia? This is totally off. Well, you can make it short.
Wild. Like when I grew up,
Yeah.
like, okay, you know the Target in Waconia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like my great grandparents' fields. Like all that was cornfields, like where my
Really?
great grandparents used to farm. And like the road, all those roads, that's like all was woods when I grew up. Like
Wow.
Waconia looks completely different than when I was a kid. It's wild. Even like I live here on the lake, and like Quinn's parents, like right across the bay, all of that was like cornfields and actually screw it. Hold on, watch this. I'll show you a cool picture.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Is that a Giants thing behind him?
Looks like it. Tanner,
Here's a
you come
picture
out here
when I
much?
grew up. I grew
Little
up right
bit.
next door on the lake. So here's the bay where where Quinn's parents live. A picture when I was like 4, my parents took. There's nothing but trees and shit on the other side of the lake.
Wow.
Not a
Wow.
single house.
It's a beautiful picture, though.
Yeah,
Now,
truly.
hey, let me give you here's the look now. How do I flip this camera? I'll just flip you guys around. Can you see now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just all developed. So Quinn, if you're at your parents, you're like right over there, right?
Yeah, right
Isn't
here,
that
bro.
wild? How different it is? Talk about how different Waconia looks. That's a
For
prime
sure.
example of like
You got an ice house
completely
out there?
different. No. I got a few friends that are around the corner that if I want to go, we'll go, but never really got into ice fishing because hockey season kind of takes up all that time when you're a little kid.
For sure.
But
Yeah, I mean,
I
Lake
love it.
Waconia is one of the biggest ice fishing lakes in the state. It's huge. And it's fun.
I
I
was telling you,
never
it's
catch
not
a
from
damn
here. It's like-
thing.
like a town.
I know.
It's literally
Yeah.
like a village.
Yeah.
But I love it.
I
That's what I
never-
love about kind of Minnesota. No one expects it. Like my wife's from Missouri, and like their family comes up and they're like, this is just wild to them. And it's just so normal to me being from here and growing up. And I love
Yeah.
it.
Dude, it was crazy to me the first time I saw it. You know, I'm from Kentucky, and you see a truck, and then it's like, is that a trailer
Oh, yeah.
on the ice? It's like, what? Then you start Googling, like you figuring out what ice fishing is, and then you see it and experience it. It's cool. I will say pulling the flags from ice fishing is a thrilling experience, but I do like being in an ice house better than running and pulling flags. Maybe I'm a little soft, but that's kind of what I prefer.
I always said I should just put some flags out there with the lines and wait for them to pop and just kind of hop on the 4-wheeler and haul ass out there.
Sounds like a
Make it
great
nice-
idea.
gotta
New
be
Year's
nice and
resolution,
fresh.
Max?
What'd you say?
Maybe your New Year's resolution for 2026.
Exactly. We'll do that. I'm gonna become a master ice fisherman. That's my New Year's resolution.
I love it.
Nah. How's your
Well-
guys' New Year? Things are busy. I mean, time flies by. It's crazy. It's 2026 already.
Yeah. It's been fun. We've been figuring out the pod, figuring out how to edit things and get awesome guests on. But it's been fun, dude. This is a fun experience, and hopefully grow this thing and with guests like you, we can grow it. So it's been fun. How about you?
Yeah.
Having these kids and raising, like you guys said, life after football. Look at you two. It's kind of like finding this, starting your way. Me, it's like life after football has turned in what's parenting. Having three
Right.
boys under the age of 4, life gets hectic. You find out.
Yeah. I remember I saw Max at a great apple orchard in the west suburbs, phenomenal place, this fall. And I was chasing around my daughter and I'm like, "Oh, hey Max." And you're like, "What's up, dude? Sorry, I gotta go. I'm chasing all these kids around."
Gotta
Like, and
run.
that is what parenting feels like a lot. I want to
Yep.
talk about a very happy moment in your life. Second round pick overall to the one and only Baltimore Ravens. Talk
Yep.
about one. I'm gonna ask you two questions. One, your experience, being drafted second round, that's a big deal, right? John Michael Schmitz, who's with the Giants, was a second round pick of the Gophers, a lot of other guys as well. But then lead into some massive news that recently broke in the NFL world of John Harbaugh being fired
Yeah.
by the Baltimore Ravens. And now is like kind of has his pick at whatever job he wants. So talk about your draft experience, then a little bit about the Harbaugh news, maybe get into him, whatever you want to go in that direction.
Yeah. Draft day. It's funny because I don't think a lot of people realize with the draft, like the TV is like delayed. Like the actual draft, like when that pick says in, the next clock is starting. Like that draft, like what you see on the TV is a little bit delayed just for the TV aspect. So I was sitting there. It's like phantom phone ringing, waiting for your phone because you never know that thing's going to ring. And all of a sudden, a
Right.
Maryland number popped up. So it was actually fun because you kind of find out you're drafted before you get to watch it on TV. So it's kind of one of those you get to celebrate moments. And then, it's probably one of those happy moments of my life, especially at that point. And you work your whole career, having my dad and grandpa both being drafted, my dad having a long career, and it's everything I worked for. And then having that moment where you get that phone call and it's almost like you just kind of black out for a second. Everyone always asks me, like, what'd you guys talk about? I'm like, they could have asked me anything. And in that moment, my heart rate was just going so fast. I couldn't believe, like, wow, I just got drafted. So it's wild. But for Coach Harbaugh, I can kind of see it both ways, coaching wise. Super Bowl winning coach.
Right.
But yeah, he hasn't won the Super Bowl. It's been almost 12 years, almost probably. And
Yeah.
that owner out there likes to win. You have Lamar still. You have Lamar kind of still right at his prime before he's going to get a little out of his element of once he gets older, it's going to be harder for him to compete because his game's so much using his legs that it's time for a change. So I can see it from the owner's perspective. Like, look, we've had every opportunity. We can't get there. Let's part on good terms. They have parted on good terms. And Coach Harbaugh's going to be able to pick the team he wants to go to. Any team's going to want that kind of caliber coach to go there. So I think it's going to work out good for both. I think it's going to be a good start for whatever coach gets that job in Baltimore, having that foundation of a quarterback there and an owner that wants to win. And for coach, I think it's good for him because he'll get a fresh start. 18 years in one team, not a lot of coaches do that. So
Yeah.
kind of gives him that fresh start to see what he can do with his career and his legacy somewhere else. And good luck to him. I can't wait to see what happens. This offseason is going to be kind of fun to see what coaches get hired where. I think I just saw, though, the Packers are extending their coach, so he's going to be there now.
Yeah, which makes sense. But even I saw Adam Schefter, I think yesterday, talked about there's a Harbaugh and Green Bay connection. His agent and his agent's dad was, the
president or something.
President in the front office, right? So it's like, well, do the Packers move on from LaFleur and try to get Harbaugh? And it's like, well, if you get Harbaugh, then LaFleur is going to be the hottest candidate, and he's going to have his pick of wherever he wants to go. So it's a crazy world of the NFL kind of coaching carousel. Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely true.
And no owner wants to be the first one to take a coach off the board, and then someone does get fired that could be available. I think that's why Coach Harbaugh is waiting so long. He wants to see what his top options can be, where everyone's kind of going, and then he's going to pick. He's going to get like $20 million a year, I bet, or something crazy too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy coaches. Coaches make so much money.
Max, you talked about your old man getting drafted, your grandpa getting drafted. Your dad played at the U and your grandpa played at Notre Dame. Talk about growing up in that family, kind of the weight of expectations that they put on you, good or bad, within your family or outside noise to be successful at the U or to, obviously you turned into an All-American player at the U and were drafted in the second round, but that weight of meeting those expectations or even exceeding them.
My parents, especially my dad, never really pushed anything hard on me sports wise. Because I think he knew because his dad played and with my mom playing, they didn't want to kind of force that kind of pressure you talk about that could be there of me feeling like I had to be something I wasn't if I didn't want to do that. My
Yeah.
parents never really pressed me if football wasn't a sport. They didn't care. They just wanted me to be active and wanted me to be outside enjoying it and playing sports as a general. And then even with the Gophers, both my parents being a Gopher, and a lot of people don't know actually. My mom's dad played 1 season at the Gophers actually. In what year was it? It was like 59 or something. And then he quit to come back to be a farmer. So they
Love it.
even being third generation, and my uncle was a Gopher football player with my dad. It's like they never once
so
pressed
cool.
me that like, oh, you got to be a Gopher. It's kind of just wanted me to have my own path. I mean, I could have chose not sports at all, and I think my parents wouldn't have cared at all. As long as like whatever I chose and made me happy, that's all they cared about. But I'll give it a different perspective though. It was nice having that going through my journey, then being college football and pros, having someone with my dad who was successful doing it to kind of always be there to have an ear to talk to, that someone that really understood what I was going through every moment of my career.
Was it always Minnesota for you?
That's real.
Like,
You talk
like growing up? Like, were you always
That's a great question.
hoping that Minnesota
You know what?
reached out?
I was never a huge like college football wherever fan growing up because my dad was in the pros, so I was a huge football like pro fan. And I knew I loved the Gophers being home, but like on Saturdays, I just didn't have the attention span to sit down and just watch college football. I was outside running around. We were playing the football outside.
Right.
I mean, I never sat around. It was like, oh, football game's on at noon. We got to sit down and watch it. It was like, oh, it's noon on a Saturday. Let's get outside to go play, or let's go outside play in the snow. I was outside all the time. But I'll hate to say it, up until probably my sophomore year, I was probably going to be a Hawkeye. I loved what Kirk Ferentz did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like the Brewster era in times. And I was skin recruited. You know how it is. I was a quarterback from Waconia, just kind of playing football. And I sat down in Kirk Ferentz's office, and he was like, yeah, if you come here, you're going to be one hell of a defensive end. And I was like, not going to Iowa. That's not my way. At that point, I was like, I am not playing defensive end. And then Coach Kill got hired probably, I don't know, I'd say 6 months later. Bruce got fired and Kill got hired. And then from my recruiting class, Andre McDonald and Philip Nelson were the first two to kind of go down and meet Coach Kill, and both got offered that first Saturday. And then that Sunday, Coach Kill had me and my parents come down and just meet him and meet everyone. And he offered me, the day I met Coach Kill is the day he offered me my scholarship. And 2 days later, I committed.
Wow.
That was it. The rest was history.
It was over.
That's so cool.
Okay, you talked about you're from Waconia, right? Waconia's got, I mean, there's a Gopher wrestler who's having a pretty good career from Waconia right now at the U.
Max if you want.
Yeah, right. The other Max, I think he's an unreal athlete too. We get all things Minnesota here, but he
Olympics the next Winter Olympics, he's gonna be there. That's my goal for him.
Let's go. Let's get another Gopher wrestler there. Shout out Gable Stevenson. But you know, you're an alumni of the U. It runs deep. Both of you guys, right? You both have dads who played at the U and had great careers, went on to play in the NFL. In today's world, the transfer portal, right? I think one thing that Coach Fleck has made a priority is keeping the best talent in state, right? Quinn went to Notre Dame off rip, and then he came back to us, right? And made things right, and has his allegiances here with you. But now I see a guy like Roman Voss who's committed, turned down Alabama to come to the U. Coy Parrish from ESCO, now he's in the portal. But talk about kind of what it's like to be an alumni at the U, and then what do you think about now and the way that college football in general has changed from when you were in it, kind of the pride of your school and what you see from your perspective, a guy who had an 8-year NFL career, but you're able to go back to the facility anytime you want, your picture's up, in the tight end room. You would come and hang out I think sometimes you'd come and just hang out all day, especially when Co was there. You guys were like best friends. Can you kind of bring us into that perspective from an alumni, and then what it's like when what you see in today's college football?
I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. After going through the whole process and college and pros and how it's all changed. I mean, when I was in college, we still couldn't even. My first year and a half, we had like dry bagels. They couldn't toast them. We couldn't get
no cream cheese. The cream cheese thing. That's crazy.
No cream cheese. It like I didn't believe it until like you're a part of it. Like, here's a dry bagel. I'm like, what? Just want me to munch on a dry, hard bagel? They could give us dinner. So like, it's such a hard thing to NIL because I'm all for. I think there should be a way of people should be making money in college.
Right.
The college sports is just too big now and too much money
Mhm.
going around. What I don't like is how it's free agency. I hate that. Like, oh, this Washington quarterback signed a contract to go. Why do you have to sign a contract to go back to school?
Mhm.
Like, you're at school. Either you're going to leave or you're staying. But like, I get it. Like, I get NIL. Like, that should happen. There's good and bad to it. It just kind of makes it all legal instead of what every school was doing behind scenes that was down south and stuff. You guys know how it is.
Right.
They got to come up with an answer of all these like, you can't just transfer year after year after year just because you're not playing or you're not getting paid what you want. Because it's still, in my opinion, still college sports. There's still an aspect, like you said, of there's got to be some kind of school pride. And I was a kid, I'm from Minnesota, and as soon as I met Coach Kill, I fell in love with Coach Kill and the school and the program and everything it stood for. And I did have that, like, I wanted to be like my dad and having family around.
Mhm.
And then McCoy, it's tough because how do you be 19, 20 years old? You don't know if you're going to go pro, and a school calls you and says, hey, you transfer here, I'm going to give you $5 million.
It's real.
That's life-changing money. I don't care who you are. Take half of it away for taxes. $2.5 million, that's life-changing forever.
And that's
So
more than
how-
5 times a rookie,
That's
rookie
what I'm saying,
salary,
like,
right?
How do you see someone hanging money like that in front of you? And think about how many kids come from inner city schools that come from nothing, that they're looking at $7 million to go play quarterback. Like, how do you say no to that?
Mhm.
And that's what I don't like about it, because it's such you have all billionaires coming out, like Mark Cuban saying, Indiana, it's great. He's loving. He's like, I don't care. I'll pay, because it's fun for those alumni to see their team be undefeated playing for a national title. Or like the BYU guy, the crumble cookie guy saying, open the
Yeah.
checkbook, keep the coach.
Right.
Like, that's all stuff probably that happened. You can watch the 30 for 30s. Like, schools have been doing that forever. But it was kind of nice, like, when it was like frowned upon. Like, don't do it. Sorry. Like, we're not going to be mad at you if you do it. Just don't say it in the open. Because now it just feels like it's pro football, in my opinion. When you can basically threaten to leave just to get more money, or I'll go pro. Just start calling it the minor leagues. Don't call it college
Yeah.
football. It's not NCAA. Just make college football the minor leagues of the pros. Pay the guys like minor league baseball players, because that's what it is.
Mm.
I hate it because of the school pride. I think that was what the best part about college football was, is just the school pride of winter workouts, 5 a.m., getting up with your friends and just grinding and knowing you're doing it because that's what it was about. Going out there on Saturdays, playing college football in front of all the fans, your school, and building that brotherhood. That's what college football was about, learning how to be an adult and learning how to be a man with your brothers.
Yeah, I've got one quick follow-up question before Quinn kind of dives into your NFL career a little bit. You played, 8, 9 years in the league. How many contracts did you sign in the NFL?
Okay, I signed my rookie deal when I got drafted. And then I signed a 1-year deal after my 4th year, going into my 5th out of free agency to go to Arizona.
Yep.
And then after that 1 year, midway through that season, I signed a 2-year extension. And then I played that out. And then in that last year, that would have been my 7th year, is when I hurt my right leg and got my drop foot and all that stuff, which we could talk about.
Yeah.
And then I signed 1 more year going into my 8th for 1 year. And it kind of started as like I almost signed it so I could stay with the team mostly in rehab to give myself the best chance to, if I was going to try to play again. And then I was thinking I was going to start on PUP and just kind of keep me around, get through it. And it ended up making the team out of camp and playing that year. And it's a lot. But so I think I said, was that 4? Technically 4 deals I think I would have signed.
And what, two of them are 1-year deals. Kind of what I'm trying to hit at, what you talked about with the portal guys, is most of these guys are on technically 1-year deals, which if you tried to build an NFL roster on strictly 1-year deals, that would be chaotic for front office people. And so like what I would highlight, kind of like, you're an NFL veteran, is, you got to have some kind of way where for sure who's coming back to your roster, and have guys on multiple year deals. I think Texas Tech's trying to do that right now. But how can we figure out a way to, if we're going to be like the NFL, let's model those contracts so they're not all just 1-year deals, because that is crazy, right? Because imagine if you had everybody on your roster was on a 1-year deal. Well, you potentially might have to find a way to sign 53 new guys in the NFL. That sounds nuts.
In the whole I hate this. The Lane Kiffin thing has really got me thinking about it, because it's not even like I get Lane Kiffin has to leave school. Like, that shouldn't happen until the season ends.
Exactly,
Because
bro. Yes.
every one of those kids on Ole Miss rosters that they arguably have a chance to make the national title, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I get my coaches leave. Coaches leave all the time, but you're going to make our head coach leave right before a playoff run? I think it's wrong. And I don't think portal, it should be the season, the national champion. It should be like the pros then. Super Bowl ends, then you get into free agency. You know what I mean? Like these kids
Speaking
now
to the
they're
choir,
talking
bro.
about, like guys on Miami weren't playing. You're in the college football playoffs and guys weren't playing because they were in the transfer portal. Like, how do you do? I would be so mad at my teammates. I'm like, I don't give a shit. You're leaving, but like you're hurt. Like, do it after the season. Like, I get it.
Right.
Like, call me a hypocrite. I left early, right? I left the team. I left before it was time, but I didn't do it before the bowl. I could have sat the bowl game out. Like, I hate guys that sit bowl games out. I arguably
Yeah.
had one of my best games in my last bowl game. You know what I mean? And helped myself get drafted higher, arguably, because I played in it.
Right.
You can always argue this double-edged sword, but I didn't want, like, if I went to play in that game, I would have felt so bad towards my friends too, because they've been like, what the hell? Like, your season's not over. And that's my opinion. The season's not over.
Yep.
And it comes down to what you talked about with it comes down to what you talked about with school pride, right? Like if these kids don't care about Minnesota, for instance, they're not going to play in the bowl game. You cared, like you wanted to see Minnesota succeed, and like in your career, I don't know how many bowl games you went to, but say it again.
3 for the 3 years, but 3 bowl games. But the thing is like kids aren't going to school for the school now. Now you're going to school because they're offering you the most money. Like you guys chose Minnesota. Tanner, you chose Minnesota because of the coach, and the coach brought you in because you fell in love with school. I fell in love with Coach Kill, and then it was never about like the football program is what I wanted to fall in love with. The guys I was going to spend every day with, the coach that I wanted to be playing for.
Mhm.
I didn't come right now. Granted, I wasn't getting offered $5 million to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that wasn't a thing. So that's what the double-edged sword is. I think as soon as you make the money a part of it, now it's free agency. Now when you're coming out of high school, it's who's paying me the most, who's going to give me the best deals. So it's just free. It's minor leagues, just turning into minor league football.
And that's a good point. You said, you weren't being offered $5 million, but your junior year, you were the best tight end in the Big Ten, All-American first team Big Ten guy. So if you had been waived $5 million in front of your face to come back for your 4th year, you might have taken it.
That is actually I've never had to think about that because when I was leaving, did me wanting to go pro, knowing I was going to make money, absolutely that played in part of me wanting to leave or not leave. How could I not? I mean, they're talking about I was going to be one of the first tight ends taken. I didn't know if I was going to get hurt the next year.
Yep.
That's basically like, do I want to go? But I also had coaches at the combine are like, you're an idiot. Why'd you leave? Like, you're not the best tight end in this draft class. You're hurting yourself. You're not going to get drafted. So it's like, it's still taking that risk. But I don't know if I was sitting there and I'll give Coach Kill, Coach Reeves a lot of credit. They were the best through that whole process, which I don't know how Coach Fleck would be in the process if guys were leaving early or not. But Coach Kill never pressured me one way or the other. And I can say that the last conversation we had was right before we flew down to Florida. And I basically said, like, Coach, what would you do right now? Because it was hard. Like, I was scared. When I was young, I was scared. He said, Max, as your head coach, I want you to stay. You're not ready. I want you to get better. I want you to help build this team. He said, if I was your dad, sitting there on the other side with your dad, he said, I'm telling you to go. You need to take your opportunity when you have it because you never know if it's going to happen again.
For sure.
But that could be that. Nowadays, that conversation is told different. You're sitting there, it's like you go, or if you stay, I'm going to give you $6 million to stay. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, because then you don't have the guarantee, right? Like,
like you said, you're making minimum in the if pros, you get your signing bonus base where you're drafted, but every rookie's making minimum. No, I'm not going to say it's bad money. It's great money, but
no doubt. But like Quinn Ewers from Texas, right? He could have entered the portal or come back to Texas, but it would have been a transfer, and it would have been more. He was a 7th round pick. He took a pay cut going to the NFL.
He took an extreme pay cut.
Yeah, his signing bonus was probably $75K, right?
Maybe $75K for a signing bonus.
And then he made, the rookie minimum. Now his performance was probably going to be good. His bonus at the end of the year, being a 7th round pick, that he played a couple, games at the end of the year, started and got a high snap count, which is going to help Max Brosmer as well as a UDFA guy with the starts that he had.
I forgot about those player performance bonuses. Those are
tell us about PP bonuses.
That actually might be one of the best things you find about when you're in the league for guys. It's basically a system that rewards guys that don't make a lot of money. So like based off of what you make that year. So like quarterback Lamar Jackson, just the first quarterback, makes a lot of money. That man makes nothing for player performance. But someone who's on a rookie minimum, undrafted, anything, per snap that they play, special teams, offense, or defense, they get an X amount of dollars. I've seen guys get like 200 grand pre-tax at the end of the season. Some undrafted guy that $2,000 signing bonus to be there in camp, made minimum all season. It's a nice little bonus for someone like you earned this. It's like basically you earned this check for someone that wasn't supposed to play and you played. You can make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's good insight to the listeners for sure.
Talk about your transition.
You don't find out about that.
Right. Talk about your transition to the NFL. Did you have like a welcome to the NFL moment? I know we were kind of referring to college football as minor leagues nowadays, but the talent is still, there's an obvious gap and you got to, bridge that gap a little bit. You being a second round pick might have not had as big of a gap to bridge than an undrafted guy, but did you have a welcome to the NFL moment?
I think I had a couple. I think, what was it, like week 17 or 16, Vontaze Burfict knocked me out. That was fun. Because it wasn't even part of the play. Nah, you guys can look at, he got fined like 50 grand. That was a nice welcome to like what's happening. But honestly, I think the biggest jump for me, or the biggest difference, one, looking back, I was like 20 years old when I declared for the draft. I was not ready to be like Minnesota small town kid, stayed home, all of a sudden just flying to the East Coast on my own. Like that's a whole different life and culture change. But really for the NFL, it's just everyone is so talented and so smart. And that's the biggest difference between what I thought with like seeing a college defense compared to like trying to play a pro defense is just the things that pro defenses do on the fly, and everything's so complicated, and what you see is never what you're getting. And Tanner can see, especially quarterback. I don't know how you guys do it, because the things that are happening so quick on the snap of the ball that, one, you got to process it on your own, because when you're on the road, you can't hear anything. And two, those guys are really good across from you, getting paid a lot of money too, that are really good at their job. So it's more of the aspect of the mental that I thought the hardest jump going from college to pros was just understanding of truly learning like what football is and how to play football.
What about off the field? You said you're 20 years old and you're getting paid, signing bonus and however much money was in your contract your rookie year. Like that's got to be a tough transition. You're living on your own now.
I have great family and I have a great support system.
Yeah.
From day one, when I was even starting football all the way through my career, my family, my friends, my wife, I've never had a point in my career where I didn't have such a strong foundation and support system to fall back on, and someone always there to like you said, like I'm out on my own. Also, you have some money and able to I think my signing bonus check I put in the safe, and I had to call my mom. I was like, what's the safest way to go about this? I was so nervous to even I didn't want to screw anything up. I mean, I've never been handed money like that before when you're in college. I mean, our scholarship checks, like, pretty sure they just auto deposit. It was like $700 a month or whatever it was after we had rent. Can't even remember. So it was like, also I had this check of money and I'm like, I was so scared, never been in the real world. It was great to have my family and that foundation to fall back on, especially when I was so young and truly kind of understanding what it was to be on my own, to have my family there for me.
How did you
that's good.
How did you like
what
the
was your
locker
favorite
room when you showed up?
Oh, go ahead, Quinn. Go ahead.
Sorry. How did you like the locker room when you showed up? Were you mostly buoying up with the rookies, or were there some veterans in the tight end room for you?
I'll give a shout out. I'll give a shout out to two guys that really kind of were there for me. Ryan Jensen, the center, played for Tampa all those years after he left Baltimore. One of my best friends to this day still. And I sat right next to him in the locker room. The two redheads, they stuck us in the corner, But he really was there for me, him and his wife. They were younger players. I think he was in his third year when I got drafted or whatever it was. And I really spent a lot of time with him and his wife when I was there, a younger player. He was really there, kind of that family outside of Minnesota that I kind of developed to kind of be holidays or weekends when we're alone, all that stuff. Kind of having him and his wife around were huge. Then actually, Terrell Suggs, shout out Terrell Suggs. To this day, he calls me Monty. I don't know why. Since I was drafted by Baltimore and I played my first 5 years with him, because he went to Arizona too. I met Monty. Hopefully makes the Hall of Fame, but he was kind of someone that was always there for me. Like when our team was traveling or what it meant, he was kind of always there to kind of welcome me into the crew. I mean, I'm just this little redhead from Minnesota to myself. You guys know me, happy, smiling, So he really just kind of brought me in with the guys out there to really make me feel like I was part of the team and all that. So really those two guys, right when I got drafted, really stood out that were really there for me and made me feel welcome to the NFL kind of.
That's two
Those are your
phenomenal
foxhole
football
guys.
players too, who had great careers, right?
Hey,
That's
Trell
sweet.
Suggs from Minnesota. I told him when he gets into the Hall of Fame, I'm in the front row. Trell Suggs with a picture of his like junior high photo or something in
Yeah.
Minnesota. I can't let him claim Arizona.
I love it. How about like you talked about, your two guys. If you were, allegedly, let's say, your foxhole or your bar fight guy, if you had one teammate out of your entire, you can go college and NFL career, who would you pick?
I mean, you kind of gotta go Jensen. I mean, the guy's a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how he defended Joe Flacco, the infamous when Kiko Alonso knocked out Joe and
Yep.
Ryan Jensen just came out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the guys. If I want to go college teammate, I mean, you go like guy like Zach Epping. I know you guys know that name.
Redhead. Let's go.
Tommy Olson, just those gritty dudes that didn't care.
All right.
That
We're going to clip that just so Tommy can see it. That'll
Oh.
make Tommy's, month of January.
Is there
Yeah.
not a better human out there that's just always happy than Tommy Olson?
I think I've never talked to Tommy and he's never not been smiling the entire time, laughing.
The
whole
From the
conversation.
day I met him, I think I was like 17 when I met Tommy. I don't think he's ever changed. I love that. Those are the type of people I love that you want in the foxhole. Just no matter when it's shitty or you're down or it's the worst days in football when we're run down, we're puking, it's 5 a.m. There's Tommy Olson making a joke and smiling. Look, those are the guys you need around.
Yeah. Good glue guys, those locker
Glue
room
guys.
glue guys, which
Glue
glue guys have a huge role, especially when you have dudes who are coming back from injury. You mentioned it earlier about your injury and what it was like kind of at the back end of your career too. How did you fight through that adversity and end up continuing to play in the NFL? Can you bring us a little bit into that and show the listeners
worst
even maybe
injury
what your
that I did.
schedule was like too for the guys who are
So-
listening?
When I got hurt, I basically tore everything in my right knee, plus nerve damage. So I got drop foot and all that. And it was tough. Like some dark times. I mean, my wife was like 6.5 months pregnant with our first child. She, for the first 10 weeks, she drove me to work every day. She loaded me into the back of the car because I couldn't sit with my in the front, so I couldn't bend my legs. She'd drive me the 25 minutes to work, drop me off, either hang out or go do whatever she was going to do until I was done with my rehab and all the training, come back, pick me up and bring me home. So yeah, it was a lot. I mean, you asked earlier about what a kind of schedule was like. It was basically, I got to the facility 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. and was there for the next basically 5-6 hours and just pure rehab on my right leg. And eventually it turned in, I had to learn how to walk again with the drop foot and all the AFOs and get home by, I don't know, 3 o'clock that day, some days later, some days earlier, and repeat every day, 6 days a week, got about 1 day off until made my way back slowly and then kind of learned how to walk with the AFO, kind of learn how to, it's weird because I can't you got to really learn how to do things. The quarterback, Alex Smith, actually, I got connected with, and he was so helpful through the process because it's such a lost moment because you don't know anyone who has drop foot and going through, didn't know if my career was over, didn't know what was going to go with that. Life after football, I didn't know what that was going to be like. And Colt McCoy actually connected me with Alex Smith, and that having somebody that understood what I was going through and someone I could call, kind of the same thing, having that support system, it was just huge to understand of it wasn't over. Having drop foot's not the end of everything, that you will learn how to adapt. There's ways to get strength in things. There's things you can do. And just having that, just kind of knowing I wasn't alone and I didn't have to be lost through the process was really helpful.
That's awesome. How did you handle that adversity? I know you talked about your support staff and talked about Alex Smith, but you were at the top of your game, right? Like, you're building a nice career for yourself in the NFL. Obviously you never want football to end. But how'd you handle the adversity of kind of fighting back from that injury and then the tail end of your career there, knowing when it was time to hang them up?
It kind of came down to two things for myself. One, it was more of my selfish reasons is I didn't want to look in the mirror and know I didn't try to come back from that kind of injury. And I was kind of going through the process of not knowing what. And in the end, one, I knew I was about to have a kid. And I was like, what would I want my kid to think when he grew up? Did I not try? How can I tell my kid to give it everything he has and never give up in the moment? So it's one of those, it was the two double-edged sword of I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror and be upset with myself knowing I didn't try to come back of something I loved. And two, I wanted to be able to look back and tell my three sons now, like, look, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. You can lose the function of your foot, but anything's possible if you really try to really just really go for it and send it. And if it didn't work out, I'm okay with that. I'd be the same person I am today, knowing that if I never stepped foot on the football field again, but I gave it everything I could too, that's all that mattered to me. And I was just talking to Tanner when you disconnected, and I was saying if you get a chance to go play in any of the other leagues, do it. What do you have to lose? All
Yeah.
you have to lose is you're going to be that much older, looking back when you're 30 years old, thinking, "Fuck, I should have just done it." Even it's not about the money; it's all about do you want to play ball or not. If you still love ball,
Yeah.
go play ball. It doesn't matter about the paychecks. Back to the love of the game. It's over now. Fuck it.
Right.
Play the game because you love it. And if that means you have to go to a different league, then go do it.
For
I mean,
sure.
you ask Tanner. Tanner, right now, if someone called you and you wanted to go play, you go play if you wanted.
Mm.
I mean, I can't. I know I can't. But if someone called me, I would do it if I could. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah.
So do
That's
it.
a cool
Because
perspective.
you don't want to look back when you're kids and they're like, did you end up playing anymore? No, I didn't know if I wanted to or not. And then you're looking back at it, like, do it. And if you don't want to play ball anymore, then fuck it, be done.
Right.
Yeah. Just that peace of mind. And, I'm thinking about Matt Ryan, recently named, kind of president of football operations for the Atlanta Falcons. His farewell to CBS, and he had a good gig, right? Getting a gig on one of those CBS seats, like that's a major deal, right? I
It's a
mean,
lot of
Terry
money.
Bradshaw, those guys have been there for forever, right? And Matt Ryan talks about like, you fear when he had a long career, when you play that long, you've been in a team environment your whole life. It's hard for guys because they don't have a team. And he talked about CBS. The first year he was on the road calling games, and his last two he was in the studio. Like that's your team. And he kind of hinted on like how difficult it is to be outside of football. I think I've definitely experienced that. When I got out of coaching too, coaching you have that as well. What do you think, kind of in your perspective, your post career life? Obviously, you hinted at you're very busy, full time dadding it up. But what have been like? How have you kind of attacked and approached that? Of post football, post NFL, some people, the average fans think, well, if you play 8 years in the NFL, well, you just sit up on your feet, everything's going to be fine, life is good, you don't have to do anything,
Mhm.
yada yada yada. That's maybe what some average people think about, but you still have desires, dreams, you're still doing a lot of things. How have you
Mhm.
approached post football with that peace of mind that you talked about already, and kind of what are some things that keep you busy today?
You know what? The hardest part, I think, for me when I retired is I say you lose that structure. Think about like, I mean, when I always say when you start with a kid, you start preschool when you're what, 3, 4 years old. And from that moment on, through your senior year, through college, into the pros, your life is structured I mean, meetings are today. You have to be here, there. You got everything. My life was structured from the day I can remember through the day I retired. So I think losing that structure was the hardest part of me of like, what do I do with my time? And like, poor me or whatever, oh, I have too much free time. But it was one of those like when you go your whole life and you're supposed to be somewhere at exact moments, this, and that. It was hard when all of a sudden I didn't have that. And it was one of those like, what do I do? How do I find purpose in something that my whole life purpose to this point has been football, give my whole life to football. So I think for me, it was kind of trying to find out who I was outside of the game, really trying to figure out who I was as a person. I mean, you're a whole different, when you're 16, 17 years old, you're a whole different person than when you're a 30-year-old man, in my opinion. Your desires, how you look at life, what your priorities are. And I kind of had to take a good look at everything that of like, who am I at this point in my life and who do I want to be? Who do I want my kids to see me as? What kind of father do I want to be? What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of person in my community do I want to be? And those were things I really never had to sit down and think about or figure out who I was because in my mind, football is never ending, which they always tell you. But I mean, you give your whole life to one thing. That's all I cared about is I wanted to be in the NFL. I wanted to play football, and that's what I loved. So really kind of taking that time, that first year after ball was really tough, especially moving home, having kid, understanding of that. I mean, it's definitely aligned with depression for sure.
Mm.
I lost who I was. I thought I had no purpose anymore. I didn't know who I was in this world or what I had to give back. And once you kind of start figuring that stuff out and you realize you can apply what you did in football all those years, just other things in life, it's amazing the opportunities that open up and just the things you get to experience and people you get to meet going forward. And that's how I approach it now.
Yeah, that's
That's so
real. I
cool.
mean, yeah, talking about like that, it's easy to say like football is what I do, not who I am. It's a lot harder to say it when football's not a part of you anymore.
I think football is who you are until you're done when you make it to that point because you don't make it to that point. And you don't even make it to big time college football unless football is part of who you are.
Yeah,
Because if you don't have that love and passion, and if you have that love and passion, then it is who you are. It's
Mhm.
about more of finding out what that love and passion is how you're applying that to how, like, look at you two now. You're still finding a way to be a part of ball.
hmm
I mean, there's still ways of being a part of ball without playing ball. And that's what
for
I
sure.
love. That's what I love finding out.
Yeah. When are you gonna
Absolutely.
you do a great camp in Waconia every year, right? The Maxx
Yep.
Williams camp down there. Highly recommend everybody listening right now to take their kids to that. Have you ever had a desire to like, be like Greg Olson, and run up just a squad, for your sons of a potential like Waconia super team and get everybody moving into Waconia to do a phenomenal middle school squad?
I wish. I always told all my teammates, hey, come move to Minnesota. Let's make a dynasty. But it's pretty hard to
Yeah,
convince guys from the South to come move to Minnesota in
no doubt.
January when they look out. But, I was fortunate enough. My dad was retired when I was growing up, and he coached us basically. We started tackle football in fourth grade at that point all the way through. And he kind of followed my class through. And when we got to high school, he was the O-line coach here for those 4 years. He volunteered to do it. I don't think he got paid. He got a free t-shirt. He always jokes.
Nice.
But that's what I want. I mean, it's whatever path my kids choose, and I want to be there to be able to coach them and be those things, do the field trips with them, things my parents were able to do because such a big part of my life was being at football and missing some things and missing holidays and people don't realize the things you miss when you're playing with family and all that I just want to be part of the family again back home and do holidays and do those things with my kids, and I want to be able to coach them. And yeah, we're gonna have a super team. Hopefully, Quinn's
I
gonna have
love
some
it.
kids here. You live in Victoria. We're gonna get you a little bit more
Yeah.
west. Come on, the super team's still in the works, but
I don't know.
whatever sports my kids choose, that's the path I hope I get to be a part of and see their journey. My journey's over with sports. The way I look at it, my journey in sports now is just being able to give back to kids and knowledge that I feel like I learned and to the next generation of guys that are going to be playing because I had my time. My body can't do it anymore. My mind still, if you ask me, I'm still that 19-year-old kid, freshman at the Gophers, just loving ball.
Yeah,
Back Friday Night Lights under Waconia, like that's the time. That's what I love about it is being able to give back now. It's like the perspective I have on football is so much different than it was when I was a kid of understanding what the game is. And that's what I want to give back. And that's why I host that camp here in Waconia. And I'm always, no matter who reaches out, I'm always the first person to say, I'm open book. You want to talk ball? Let's talk ball. I'm here for whoever.
If you had one
yeah,
piece
that's
of
awesome. Maybe this
advice
summer.
to give a
Go
high
ahead, Quinn.
schooler or a college guy going to the NFL, what's one piece of advice you'd give them as you give back?
I would say it's exactly what my dad told me as far back as I can remember. And it's just worry about day by day. Don't worry about if you fucked up yesterday, you had a shitty day, forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. Day by day. When you wake up tomorrow, what can I do today to make someone remember me or take it day by it doesn't matter. That's the advice for everything. Football, school, life. Tomorrow tomorrow's not here. And it's a cliche to say, but that's really how you have to treat it is what can I do today or what is mattering today? If you dread on what you did in the past couple days or you haven't you're never going to get out of it. And if you're so worried about like, oh, this is coming up next week, screw that. Enjoy it. If you're in high school, enjoy the moments. Enjoy being in high school. Enjoy being the best high school football player you are. If you're in college, you're going pro, enjoy being with your friends. Enjoy being that football. Because when you get to the pros, enjoy the moment because it comes and goes and don't have the regret of, oh, I wish I did. Do the day by day. Attack the day, give what you can for that day and then enjoy it. Because
That's
when it's
good.
gone, it's gone. It's like this. As fast as it's all given to you, is as fast as it's all taken away.
Mm, Those
great
Friday night
wisdom.
lights are undefeated, by the way.
Everyone, I tell all those kids, I'm like, there's nothing better than wearing your high school jersey at Friday at school, everyone hanging out, you knew who's on the team, and the whole town's out there at Friday night. Like, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. I love that. I'd go back to high school football any day of the week to play it again.
Yeah, I love it. One thing we do around here, Max, is the honor roll. So every time we have a guest on, we have our honor roll, right? And so basically what it is, it can be a football related or non-football related, something that it's like, hey, I'm going to shout out this specific thing. So we've had, coffee on a cold day in Minnesota when it's cold, from Caribou or Starbucks or something, things of that nature. Or it could be like bowl games, honor rolls, bowl games. We still love bowl games here. FCS playoffs was one of them. Pond hockey. There we go. I love it.
Yep.
So we'll start with Quinn. We'll go to me. I always do too. That's kind of my thing.
Tanner does too.
And then we'll close with you. Yeah.
He's a quarterback. He's better than us.
I'm too indecisive. That's my problem.
He's a quarterback. He's better than us.
That's not it at all. That's not it at all. Quinn is the king of this pod. But Quinn, what's your honor roll this week?
Well, we were talking about it before we started recording, and I was racking my brain on what I wanted to do for my honor roll because that's pretty much all I think about. But I'm a big beverage guy. I love coffee in the morning. I don't mind a nice cold beverage in the evening, but throughout the day, whether it's water or whatever, Powerade Zero. I like blue, but purple's the best flavor. Tanner likes orange. I don't know. My honor roll this week is a purple Powerade Zero, but I settled for blue this morning.
If you haven't tried orange Powerade Zero, it's delicious. I don't know how many Powerade Zeros I drank in college, but I drank too many of them. My honor roll this week, number one, is going to be, we talked about it, Max talked about it, Washington and the Big Ten not letting Damon Williams get out of his contract and go to LSU. If you sign a contract, you should live up to that contract. I think that's good for college sports. It's good for college football. If you sign something, you should be subject to it. That's my honor roll. My second honor roll is to my wife, because we just got back from vacation in Mexico, and traveling with a 2.5-year-old and a 4-month-old and a 6-month-old is not fun. So I'm going to give a huge honor roll to my wife, who held the fort down and kept me sane on the flight. So shout out to Sarah. Those are my two honor rolls. Max, what do you got for us, brother?
I'm literally was going to shout out college football and holding kids accountable on contracts.
Let's go.
I was going to say shout out for the last year with Tennessee not letting their quarterback dictate that he wants more money to come back and making him leave. And shout out kind of getting people to understand that when you sign a contract, it doesn't matter. The grass isn't greener. That kids have to learn that when you sign a contract, especially in the NIL era, that's what I'll shout out. When all these agents are reaching out to all these kids, understand when you sign your name, you are signing a contract and you are bound to that. So shout out to Washington for that, holding them accountable. And a shout out to all the kids that do watch this, high schoolers, college, that be sure that when you are signing your name, you know what you're signing and you know what you are committing yourself to.
That's good. Max, I got a pitch. The last thing for you. This summer or fall, if Quinn's in the UFL dialing it up, let's get a little 2v2. You pick a partner. We'll go a little scramble. We'll do whatever you want to play. Go out to Island View. Go wherever you want to. Wherever you want to go.
Quinn already knows you don't want that.
God.
You don't want that.
Tanner, I promise
get it
you
in,
don't. You don't want it. You don't want it, Tanner. I don't know if you ever played with Max.
I need something to lock in for. All right.
You got time though. You got a buffer. I got wrist surgery coming up on the 19th, so you're gonna have a little buffer if you're practicing this winter.
God.
I got to practice a lot.
Huge sim season.
Join Island. It's time for you to join Island View, both of you. It's time to get on the list. Join a country club. Join Island View. It's half public, half private.
It's a good pitch.
Maybe
let us get a little higher position on that list. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
Hey, I know a guy. I might know a guy.
All right, well, we could talk offline. But dude, Max, thanks for coming on, man. Being a guest on the Honorable Mentions podcast. We're huge fans of you. Appreciate you and your friendship and all that you've done for the great state of Minnesota and for the Gophers in general. So thank you for being on and your time today, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys for having me. I love that you guys are doing this. I love that you guys are making a thing of bringing guys on, making honorable mention, bringing up Minnesota sports. It's great. And thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it. I've been waiting for you guys to call. I've been excited to get on this podcast. So I love what you guys are doing. Best of luck to you both and appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
appreciate you, Max. We'll have you back
See you
on
guys.
sometime.
Let me know. I mean, I just can wave like, hey, bye, Quinn.
Yeah.
You're welcome anytime.
Come
Come
here,
crash the
Quinn.
pod. Yeah, come crash the
Dude, all
pod.
you gotta
It'll be
do is
great.
just get in the four-wheeler, drive across the ice. You can see me and my kid out there driving on the ice there. He's got a little mini snowmobile. He just
Yeah.
thinks it's fun to drive. He thinks it over where you guys live, he calls it the jungle because all the trees.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's so awesome. Well, thanks again, Max. We'll have you back on sometime. Have a good one, brother. Appreciate you.
Great seeing you guys. Have a great time, and I'll definitely talk to you guys both soon.